Hey everybody, welcome to the Broken Shifter Boogity. I am Boogity, and I am joined by
Boogity boogity.
And boogity
and
boogity boogity. Boogity. The third.
Junior.
and more Boogity. Thank you, DW, for that amazing intro to the race this week with 9,000 Boogities. Anyways, Talladega was a different race than we've seen this year. First half was very boring. The second half, extremely exciting. Well, I wouldn't say the second half. I'd say the first two segments kind of were boring, and the second or the third segment was just absolutely phenomenal. So we want to start off with the big one, I guess, or Larson hitting the wall. Larson hit the wall very very early in the race, the first 10 laps. Not much to say about that.
Oh, one
Luckily,
real
he
quick
hit
thing.
it flat.
Yeah.
Yeah, Justin.
One real
Carbon.
quick thing. Also, stage winners for the first two. Real quick, we'll just get those out of the way. Kozlowski and Hamlin for stage 1 and 2.
Okay. Yep. Keselowski won stage one. Hamlin won. But did I say that wrong?
Kozlowski won stage 1.
Keselowski is stage one. Yeah.
Hamlin's
Hamlin
won
won
stage
stage two. All right. I confused myself for a second.
Now we can go to the big one.
The big one. The big one.
Earned its name.
120% AJ Allmendinger's fault. Are we in agreement on that one?
Yep.
Definitely.
Chase Elliott had a shot at a win. AJ Allmendinger pushed him half the way down the straightaway, then pushed him through the turn, and then when he finally got him loose, continued to just keep running on into him. I like AJ Allmendinger, but Chase Elliott's running second. He's going for a win. I know AJ's trying to get a win somewhere besides a road course, but that's a boneheaded move, and his interview after the race really pissed me the frick off.
God, that was.
I think he dinged his reputation.
What was his exact wording on that? It was, I
barely
Harvick was on my
capped
ass.
him.
That too.
And yeah, Harvick was on my ass, and then there was like the replay showed
Harvick was a car
Harvick
length
was,
back.
Yeah, like half car length back or something like that, and you could see the ripple effect go through Elliott's fender. So you know he hit him hard.
He had been
there's a
pushing him the
corner.
whole way. Hey,
And
you
then-
don't push through the turns.
And
That
you
almost
sure as
happened
fuck
again
don't push
in the
hard
last
out of the
couple
turns.
laps.
I mean, it's one way to get Kyle Busch out of the way. Fucking wreck him.
Not there yet. We're still at the big one.
All right.
Yeah, so we saw
this
real
was-
quick. We saw Truex, Logano, Keselowski, Harvick. Danica had a nasty crash into the inside wall. We saw some major cars that were
McDowell
very
had a Chase
competitive.
Elliott on his freaking windshield.
Yeah, some
Chase
very
Elliott went
competitive
for a
cars
ride.
taken out, all because of Allmendinger.
I don't know what he was thinking. It was really boneheaded. I understand you're late in the race, but it's not late enough in the race when you're running third to be pushing that hard.
Yeah.
I mean,
and
you're right behind second place and you're in position for a win with like, what was it, 8 or 9 laps to go, and he's just absolutely drilling Chase in the back, knowing he's new to the Cup Series, and he's still just slamming him. This isn't a road course. This is a plate track. You're gonna get loose. There's so much banking. It's dumb.
Yep. And on top of that, AJ has a spotter that can tell him, hey, back the fuck off, back the fuck off. I was listening to the radio, and I was getting some of that. I got the in-car radio now, so I'm listening to some of the drivers and what's been going on throughout the race. And one was everyone was loose. And so everyone's spotter's just going back up. He's freaking about to lose it. So
Justin, you're free to go with your opinions now.
I don't know. I don't know about the spotter issue, but the whole thing was just definitely AJ's fault, and it was A little irritating to see Chase actually up there with a very competitive car to get dropped back because of that, because of a rookie move.
His AJ's interview is what pissed me off. It looked more like a Kyle Busch interview. Because he was like, oh, I just barely touched him and Harvick was up my ass. No, Harvick wasn't up your ass. You were up Chase's ass the whole way down the damn straightaway and the whole way through the turn, and then you fucking wrecked him.
Harvick wasn't on his ass until the incident. You can go back and watch that replay, frame by frame, slow-mo, whatever the hell fits your fancy.
But it's absolutely fucking silly. Do y'all want to talk about the fastest car all weekend, qualifying and during the race, even though he didn't lead the most? And if Keselowski hadn't have got caught up in that wreck as well, I think Keselowski may have been the race winner. Possibly Logano, but I think Keselowski had a little bit better car. The fastest car all weekend
Issue. He could have been
seemed,
up there too, but
yeah, I think Junior could have been up there, and we'll get to that in a minute. But Keselowski kind of got screwed in that wreck. He didn't get a ton of damage, and he still finished and rebounded for a decent finish. And he's already in the bag. He's got 2 wins. But fastest car in qualifying by a clear mile, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. We've been waiting on him to do something, and we've been waiting on Roush to get their crap together, and it looks like at Talladega they had it together because Trevor Bayne was up there a lot too.
Yep. And it took Roush from going from to being a 5-car to a 4-car to a 3-car to a 2-car team for them to come back and get a win.
Penske's doing pretty good.
Mm-hmm. All
Ford's
the Fords,
doing really good this year, too.
They're finally going to a 2-car team seems to have paid off for them. I mean, they're getting more and more competitive. JGR is finally getting their crap together.
Unfortunately.
And yeah, none of us 3 want to see that, but Hendrick still hasn't seemed to, except for Jimmy Johnson. Chase Elliott's been solid all year, but I don't know. What's next on the agenda?
Well, we can. Oh, I do have one question for you guys. So after the Daytona race, during that podcast, and I think we discussed, or you think you guys talked about it a little bit during Atlanta too. We were all in agreement that plate tracks don't seem to fit very well for the race, this new race format of stages. But we did agree that the smaller tracks, like Martinsville, for example, it worked really well. After Talladega, do you guys still have that feeling about plate tracks not working, or do you think it actually worked out this
not
race?
for stages. It just doesn't work because it was the same thing. It was the exact same thing that happened at Daytona. JGR, all 4 of them go down pit road at the last possible second. Granted, a couple of them got busted at Talladega for going in too late after pit road was closed. Denny Hamlin managed to make it down there, and when they restarted, he was up front, and he wound up leading pretty much the whole segment. Yeah, it's a problem at plate tracks. I think everywhere else you're good with the segments. They work, but especially at the short tracks. But, yeah, plate tracks just didn't.
With me, I don't really feel like the format doesn't work for plate tracks. I just don't feel like it gives anything to the plate tracks. Like, yeah, sure, the nice points at the end of each stage is nice, but I don't feel like at a plate track that's the incentive for the drivers. Because at Talladega and Daytona, you just want to make it to the end so you can have a car to actually race for the win. While at other tracks, you can have a small ding here or there and still be all right.
Well, you can exactly reference that to what Denny Hamlin did at Talladega. Very early in the race, he dropped straight to the back. He went down on the apron, fell all the way to the back, lost the draft, waited until 3 to go, made it down pit road, got out, and then when segment 2 started, guess who's up front? Because he played that strategy, and that's not really getting up there and racing, and these stages are supposed to promote competitive racing, which we saw a lot of 2 wide, a lot of 3 wide, and some 4 and
wide.
5 wide at certain points. Yeah, I mean,
5 wide didn't really
the
come into
racing
play till the
wasn't
very
bad.
end.
Well, people went 5 wide because there might have been an accident in front of them.
Yeah.
Nah, I mean, at times it was just that's the way it was going, and there was a lot of good saves and stuff like that. It was fun. I think one thing we can touch on real quick, and I'm just going to bring up the subject, and somebody else can talk about it. Eric Almirola, who had a very strong car at the end, has been penalized by NASCAR for failing post-race inspection.
Yeah, if I
Laser
remember
issue.
correctly, yeah.
Or laser inspection.
Which,
Like
that's
Caboose.
something you can't really dick around with. At least anymore. The way that NASCAR's got everything set up. If you go back to the late 90s, early 2000s, like when Jeff Gordon got his Daytona 500 win, the first one, they openly admit in the little documentary film thing that they made, they yanked the back bumper out to where it was extended beyond the normal, but they didn't check for that. Now they're checking for everything. And so, it's not really a game that you want to be playing anymore.
I don't know what exactly they failed, but they still failed it. And after Logano getting busted last week, after, winning the race, and he got busted bad for a suspension thing, like his win is essentially nullified. It's going to go down in the record books for Richmond International Raceway as a win, but it doesn't count towards him making the chase. And these teams push it so hard, it just doesn't want to work.
So I don't get quite why they. If you're gonna win, you're gonna get caught. It's kind of like to that point now. So it's like I don't know why risk it, I guess. But
Even if you don't
To
win,
each their
you're
own, I
going to
guess.
get caught.
yeah, most of the time because they do the random inspections as well.
And
Every
You do it
driver
too
from
many
the
times
80s
and
or
you're eventually
90s will
gonna
tell
get
you the same thing.
Mhm.
Every driver from the 80s or 90s will tell you, if you're not cheating, you're not winning.
Now, I will admit there are instances where it genuinely was an accident. For example, Dale Jr. was missing a part on his car that made it a little bit difficult for him to drive. And I quote, "It feels like the front and rear are disagreeing with each other," end quote.
Yeah, he
I
said
heard that
early
over
on.
the radio. I think it was like
And it
on
was
lap
finally at the
15
end of the
or
race.
20
They're
or
like,
something like that.
"Oh, I'm missing a spacer." How the fuck did their tire
Yeah.
people
Took-
miss
Took
that?
them the whole race.
Jeez.
Took them the whole race. And I will say that
Somebody needs to get in trouble for that.
it's a testament to how good that race car was and how good Junior is at Talladega and restrictor plate races to be able to drive that car all the way up through the pack to second.
Oh, he had a
missing a
winning
wheel
car
spacer
easily.
with a loose whip.
If he didn't have that spacer issue, he was up there. He could have been.
How do you fucking miss it? How do you forget to put that on the damn car? I don't get it. He goes back out there, after, and that's another thing we need to talk about. The dude literally missed 2 wrecks that he should have been involved in.
Someone
the
was
first
looking
one
over
was
him.
the big one. The first one was the big one with, I think it was Harvick, who he narrowly missed. And the other one was, I think it was like a 31 or 37 or something like that.
31 around Newman.
Yeah, Newman. Newman went flying. Newman got clipped. Like, it was a big freaking, chaotic moment where a couple of cars clipped each other. And Newman got the biggest hit out of it, I think, and went flying across the track. And Dale tried to go inside to avoid. And
He saw that
Keselowski
shit
also
coming.
tried to go inside. And Keselowski just narrowly tapped him, and it caused Dale to swing really wide and almost hit Newman. It was so close. That was amazing, though.
If Dale was going 5
I
miles an hour
don't know
faster, or if Newman was going 5 miles an hour slower,
5
there
miles an
would have
hour,
been
mile an hour faster.
Eh,
He came within inches of that car.
Yeah.
I watched the replay.
That
I
was
went back and
insane.
watched it just a few minutes ago, and it was just like it was so close.
Yeah, he can wheel a car, and anybody that loves to hate Dale Jr., he is no Kyle Busch as far as being able to do some crazy shit, but he has a better head on him and knowledge of where he needs to go and stuff like that. And it was just phenomenal watching him get through those 2 wrecks, just barely.
There was
It was
one
really
really
impressive.
interesting comment that the commentator said. It was earlier in the race when Dale was having issues where I think he peaked out or something like that when he was on the outside, and he just lost everything. Like he lost all ground, couldn't get back in. And
Right.
I think Caboose said that he said over the intercom thing or whatever that he's just been making the wrong choice, like the wrong decisions. Not like bad decisions or anything, just they're always the wrong decisions. Those split-second decisions or whatever. And it was either that or the commentators talked on a little bit. But then you think about, well, he must have made up for that when he was involved in those 2 accidents, or almost involved in those 2 accidents. He made up for those little
Yeah, well,
split-second
I mean-
decision issues.
somebody
you saw
was
him.
looking
He got
over.
up.
Oh, yeah.
He got up to second place, and all of a sudden on a restart, he started just falling real fast, and that's when they found out about the spacer not being in the car, in the wheel well. And you're just like, okay, well, that explains a hell of a lot. How did he go the whole
Yeah, we thought it
race
was like
without
another
that?
blown engine
How did
or
he
oil
not
cooler issue
destroy
or
the
something like that.
rotor or anything like that? The thing is, Dale Jr.'s engineering team, their crew needs to get their shit together because he's having way too many parts failures. It's ridiculous. And there's drivers out there like Kevin Harvick has a problem with his pit crew screwing up numerous times. And he's had that for a while. Dale Jr., they can't prep a car to go to the track and actually be a fully functioning vehicle for an entire race.
And yet they still somehow make a vehicle that has the chance of being a winning vehicle, even with an error like that. It's crazy.
Did they go back to Talladega?
That's a pretty big error. Oh, he's going to be up there. Yeah, they're going back.
Yeah, it's
They go back in the
October or
fall.
something like that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
Oh,
later in the year.
hopefully he'll get a
It's-
second
it's
chance
during the
there.
chase. Yeah.
Oh, we
I
still
mean,
got Daytona coming
he
up.
had a good car. But I think the one thing we need to talk about is Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who won a nationwide championship a while back. Not sponsored by Nationwide, just in case anybody was wondering. He won a couple years back. Made it to Cup Series. Roush Fenway struggled. Ricky Stenhouse went out, blatantly had the best car in qualifying, and then showed that he could get from the back to the front numerous times at Talladega. And then proceeded to fuck Kyle Busch over one more
Everyone
time.
Yep.
Everyone did.
And McMurray.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Kyle Busch kind of fucked himself over. He pulled so far ahead, and basically gave Stenhouse that major gap to just fly
Slingshot.
straight in there.
Stenhouse was racing a little on the rough side, but
You have
he
to at
made the
Talladega.
move at the right time. You do. And
You have to with Kyle Busch.
McMurray came flying through the middle. If it wasn't for Jimmy Johnson, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. would not probably have won that race. Which is surprising to see a Hendrick car pushing a Roush car. But I'm glad to see a driver that's never won in the Cup Series before win, especially since Stenhouse is known for winning at mile-and-a-half tracks and shorter tracks. And we were all thrilled about that.
And I think there's 2 reasons why Jimmy helped out Stenhouse as much as he did. One, Stenhouse, good kid. I'm saying kid, but he's a little older than me. But still, he's still a young gun technically, in the world of NASCAR.
He ain't older than me.
And everyone fucking hates Kyle Busch for good reason. The stupid things that come out of his mouth. Just
like his post-race interview?
Yeah.
Next week, we're going to a real track. Seriously?
Yeah.
I heard
Yeah,
AJ
if
said it
he
too, but
doesn't
I'm not
finish
really
first.
sure. I'm not really sure if he actually did. I didn't see it personally. But I was reading one of the comment things that he apparently said it as well in his post-race interview. But I don't know if that's true or not.
If Kyle does not finish first, it's not a real racetrack. But if he wins, it's the best racetrack ever. If he had won that race, he would have been like, I love coming here.
I was
But since
really,
he didn't,
really surprised that Stenhouse, like, he didn't freaking say something about Stenhouse. He actually said positive things about Stenhouse, actually.
Yeah.
Probably had a grudge, but
Oh, yeah.
probably JGR was like, stop it.
Kyle
somebody.
Busch is just that kind of fucking person. But I think the biggest story of the day was basically the big one, and it took out a lot of really good cars. And where are we going next week?
Kansas.
Kansas?
Oh,
That I'm racing at the wrong track right now, and I need to go back and refilm.
No, it's Kansas.
all right. So, anybody got any final thoughts on Talladega before we make picks for Kansas?
No,
thought
I
it
think
was
we got
probably
about
when-
everything we need.
Okay, here, I'm going to sum up Talladega in one sentence. Or I guess two sentences. Probably the most boring race of the year, but the best finish. I thought it was probably the best finish out of all of them so far.
Fair enough.
The first two stints were meh.
Okay, so let's run this down with Kansas and who our main picks are and who
Kansas,
our long shots
real
or
quick,
dark horses are.
How long's the track?
Mile and a
I
half.
don't know
Mile
anything
and a
about
half.
Kansas. Okay.
This is the track I told you about where it's a progressively banked track, so up high, that's where you get all your speed.
Yep. That's pretty much sums it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Caboose, want to go first with your picks?
Yeah. I have my regular pick. I don't have a dark horse pick. Because it's hard to say who's a good dark horse pick at Kansas. And you can't say Carl Larson anymore because he's been running up front the whole time.
You can't say Ricky Stenhouse anymore either.
Yeah, because he just got a win. You know what? Dark horse, Ty Dillon.
Okay.
When he
had
come-
a good run at Dega.
Yeah. When he comes to the show, he puts on a show. You know what? My main pick, I know I just picked him for Daytona, but I'm going to go with Junior. Junior, he loves running up next to the wall. Kansas, you run up next to the
You
wall.
picked Junior the last three races.
Did I?
Yeah, you have the last.
He's
three
gonna
races,
get
'cause I've
one,
said
damn
every
it.
week. You're gonna
He's
keep
gonna
picking
get
him
one.
until he wins.
No, I'm not pulling a side slick.
Oh, what Casey Kane?
Casey again had a good run.
Okay. All right.
He always seems to have a good run. But
So, Caboose, your two picks were Junior, and who was the other one again?
Ty Dillon.
Ty Dillon. Okay. Justin Carbon. Go for it.
Alrighty. Well, honestly, I hate picking him just because I don't like him, but I'm going to. Just because JGR hasn't had a win yet, I'm gonna go Kyle Busch.
Damn it.
My dark or what is it? Dark horse, whatever it's called. You know what? I'm gonna go crazy. Let's have some fun with this one. I
Dear God, if you
think
pick
this
Danica.
person. I think this person is going to get a win this year, or not a win, but they're going to get a good placing at least once this year before they retire. And yes, it is Danica.
Dear God.
Hey,
man.
I think they're gonna get
That's
placing.
not a terrible.
She's
pick.
gonna have. She says she's retiring this year, but there seem to be some stipulations on it. But
There's
I
always
still
some.
think she's going to get one good finish before she retires. Not a win necessarily, but a good finish.
What are my qualifications for a dark horse for this week?
Hasn't won or ran near the front for a long period of time, or is a rookie
Well.
that just hasn't been running.
Yeah. Often, not like one of the more consistent drivers. I guess is kind of what we go with.
Okay.
So if you want to pick Suarez, you can pick
Well,
Suarez.
I guess Danica's
because
very
he-
consistent. She crashes every week.
can I throw Clinton Boyer into the dark horse conversation?
He hasn't won in a long time, and he's only gotten a decent finish. So
He seems to be up there a lot, but he never stays up there for very long.
Okay.
So yeah, we can go with him.
Clinton Boyer, being that Kansas is his home track, I'm gonna go with him for the dark horse. And as much as I hate to do this, I went last, and I already have my driver pick. But I'm in the same boat with Justin. I think JGR is knocking on the door as much as I fucking hate him, and as much as I hate Professor Man Boobs.
triple chin.
Double chin,
I'm
triple chin.
going for
Skinny fat man.
I'm thinking Kyle Busch is gonna win it this week. I know he's good at mile-and-a-half tracks.
Can I
He's
ask a
gonna get
serious
his
question?
win at the rail track.
Yeah. Can I ask a serious question? How can you be so skinny but so fat at the same fucking time?
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't get it. But yeah, I'm going with Kyle Busch just like Justin did. He's a mile-and-a-half genius, and he can run up next
So
to
is
the wall
Jimmy.
just like Carl Larson. Kyle Larson can do it, and Kyle Larson might thrive there, but they haven't been quite as on point the past couple of weeks as they were at the beginning of the year, so I'm thinking Ganassi might be falling off a tiny bit. So I'm going with Kyle Busch and Clint Boyer.
Any closing
And,
statements?
I feel that'll about wrap it up for the podcast and picks for
Yeah.
Kansas.
Oh.
And
Yeah.
yeah.
There's one more thing I want to say before we head off here. Boogity, 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 boogity. Cut me off at any time. Boogity, 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 boogity,
Boogity, boogity, boogity, boogity,
boogity,
boogity,
boogity,
boogity.
boogity, boogity,
Boogity,
boogity,
boogity,
boogity, boogity, boogity, boogity. We're starting to sound like a bad V8 motor. Boogity, 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 boogity. Booty.
All right. Yeah.
All right, you're done now.
That was a hilarious intro to the race. Anyways, I'm Hurdon Boogity.
I'm Carbon Boogity Boogity.
And this is Caboose. Boogity, boogity, boogity. The third.
Boogity booyah.
We'll catch y'all next. We'll catch y'all next week.